Hello and welcome to That Old Shop. My name is Mike Scott. This is the introduction video to That Old Shop. And it's called That Old Shop because of the age of the machines, basically. The machines range from pretty much the 1950s and earlier. I have one machine over here that's actually pre-World War II vintage. I have some newer machines, smaller machines, probably from the 70s, maybe early 80s on one or two of them, but most of them are from the 1950s and earlier. So they're mostly metalworking machines. I was accumulating a lot of woodworking machines. I wanted to get into woodworking later in life, and that didn't really work out. After some hand and arm injuries, I just found that I could not do the sanding and the finishing, putting pressure and the sanding operations. Just was sending my arms and hands into la-la land. So I got a little tired of that and just started swapping out the woodworking machines, and I had some big ones and I had quite a few of them. You couldn't even move around in this little shop. This is 16 by 24 and I need about 5 times the space. But I swapped out the woodworking machines for a lot of metalworking machines, and that's what I currently have now. A lot of them are projects, or they're taken apart and need things made, need things repaired, need things purchased for them. But I have other machines that I've been using for years, and I'll show you those, and we'll move on. The other things I'm going to throw in with this is I have a couple of old Ford tractors. I have a 1948 8N that is going to need an engine rebuild, rings and bearings I'll be doing on that. And then I have a 1958 841, excuse me. That came with a loader, and that's the main reason I purchased that. The 841 series has a larger engine and larger overall drivetrain than the N series tractors, Ford tractors. So I used to always move things by hand, and I got that tractor with the loader to help me move things around. Speaking of moving, we will be moving. We'll be moving to a more rural property where we can do some other things that we can't do here, and for one, have a larger shop. Like I already mentioned, I need a shop 5 times the space I have right now, because I have other machines that aren't even in this room. Some of them are actually sitting outside. I have a 36-inch bandsaw. It's American woodworking bandsaw. That's probably the 5th large bandsaw I've had now, so I'm not going to let that one go. I'm hanging on to that one. That's outside under a tarp, so I don't like the idea of that. I want to get that inside, not in this shop, but inside the new shop once we move. So this will be mainly, this is a hobby shop. This will be for mainly entertainment purposes, not any strict educational purposes. Won't be cutting any gears or things like that. So you more experienced machinists than I, you might find this boring. And many others of you might find it interesting. I don't know. I have about 20 years experience in manufacturing, 13 of which were injection mold repair, tool and die type of work, where I served a formal apprenticeship early on in that. And then I left that trade and went into construction, mostly remodeling of residential properties and light commercial properties. And I have about 16 years doing that. So if you find any of this interesting, or think you'll find any of this interesting, just like everybody says, like, share, comment, subscribe, I guess, if you want to. You may want to see some more videos coming down the road before you do that, I guess. But whatever trips your trigger. I know I subscribe to other people's videos for a while, and sometimes I lose interest in it, or they change their format or what they're covering. It doesn't interest me anymore. So, but whatever you want to do there. So now I'm going to grab the camera and show you around the shop and show you what I have for machines right now. So over there is a Clausine lathe. It's a smaller one. It's got a small diameter throat on there. I do use it a lot. It just happens to be clean right now. It does not have the ability to cut threads though. So I would be looking for another lathe once we move to a bigger shop. I'm going to keep this lathe still because I use it for making parts, and I use it for cleaning a lot of machine parts when I'm cleaning up a machine. Next to that is a little Keller Power hacksaw. I use that a lot. I put a 3-phase motor on that with a VFD so I could control the speed on that. This mill here, this knee mill, is a Bridgeport knockoff. This is a Chevalier. This is made in Taiwan, one of the few Taiwan-made machines I have. And these actually have a heavier base than Bridgeports. Bridgeports come in different sizes, and this is for this size category of machine. The Chevalier actually has a heavier base and a heavier knee. It has power feed on the x-axis, that's the left to right on the table. It has a power drawbar up top, that's air operated. It had a DRO, a digital readout, when I bought it, but it was trash. So once we move, I'll be looking for get a new DRO for this machine. Next to it is one of the older machines I have. This is a Grobe bandsaw. This is a metal cutting bandsaw. It's a 14-inch. Of course, I have some of the parts of it apart. I have the blade welder out. I rewired that. I have to get that put back in there. I had to replace a lot of cloth insulated wire that was in there. So that's that machine. Next to that is a Boyer-Schultz surface grinder. It's a 612 surface grinder. 612 is the size. I have two of these machines, and the other one is in more pieces than this one. It's majorly disassembled, and it's been for quite some time now. But this one in front of you there, that has the cabinet stand, which has a dust collector inside, which I have to find or make the baffled bag system for the dust collector for that. The other one does not have a dust collector. It has a flared leg stand, but I have a separate dust collector, a Rockwell branded dust collector that I will hook up to both of these if I have to. In addition to that, probably those machines over there, those grinders, and I have a buffer too. I may hook all that up to that dust collector. That's a newer, probably a 70s dust collector. That is actually in storage in another shed I have. But I have all the guards and shields for those grinders over there. I just have them off to get better and easier access to the wire wheels. I have brass on one and steel on another, and two different grits, of course, on that Miller's Falls grinder over there. Over here on top of this, this is a safe that I store all my chemicals in. This green thing is a bench center. That's for checking the concentricity on parts. It's not really a machining type piece of equipment. It's more of an inspection type piece of equipment. This rod here, an indicator goes on there, and the part gets mounted between the centers there for checking the concentricity of the parts. This is a little Mead sander here that needs a lot of help. I got that very cheap, as well as this bench center. I didn't really need that, but it was so cheap I couldn't pass it up. But this Mead sander, that needs some parts made. I got to replace the bearings. I have the bearings for it. I stock certain size of bearings for machines I work on. The motor's got to come apart, replace the bearings in there and get rewired. Then that'll be a sweet machine. I'm kind of into bench vices. There's only 3 in my shop right here. I have several packed away to move already, and I keep a couple outside on outside benches to do the dirty work out there to try to keep the shop a little cleaner. Over there, a hydraulic H-frame press. That's a Harbor Freight. That comes in pretty handy. I could use a bigger one at times. And behind that, tucked behind that, is a 1953 Curtis air compressor. That's an 80-gallon tank, 2-stage. and I just love the heck out of that thing. I got that thing for a pretty reasonable price as well many years ago, and I had to dismantle it, take it apart in 3 pieces so I could move it. It's so heavy. I took the motor off and the compressor head, and the tank weighs a ton. It took me and my wife many years ago to just wheel that around into my shop so I could reassemble it. And the reason I bought that compressor is because I had a larger sandblast cabinet. This is a small benchtop one that I have now. It's all plastic except for the grate inside, of course, but that compressor was used for the other sandblaster cabinet, and I had an even larger one, an Empire. But I didn't want to have to move those 2 things because I'm going to be moving all the shop equipment on an open trailer, and those things are like sails and they're kind of lightweight, so I just pass those on, and I have this benchtop one for now. But once I move, I'll be getting another sandblaster as well. So that's what the projects I'm going to have, and I have a lot of projects, as you can tell, and I'll be doing videos on each machine. I'll give more of a history, the age of the machines, where to get parts. I'll have to make some parts, of course, and probably from time to time in between those videos I'll be throwing in some videos involving this stuff here. It's a hobby that I've kind of gotten into. Shoot a lot of 22s. I can't say a lot, more 22s than I guess in these calibers you see laying there, but I enjoy that. It's a lot of fun. So that's it for now. That's what the shop looks like. It's going to be bigger. It's going to have more machines once we move, so I'll bring you along on the moving process and all that as well. So thanks for watching.